everybody, and welcome back to A Dinosaur in the Library. And if you will notice, I'm at a slightly different angle because my lovely wife is playing cameraman for me today so that I can film the first part of the bookshelf tour. I will not be doing the entire thing because there's this bookshelf, and then another bookshelf, and then a short bookshelf, and then two smaller bookshelves. And then there's also, if you're interested, my school bookshelf, which I may or may not do. So it's going to take a while. So we're just going to do this one today, and then we'll come back and see the other ones, okay? So I'm just going to walk through what's on here, and I'm going to do this slightly altered. I'm not going to pull every book out to show you because I'm not sure anybody wants to sit through that long of a video of me talking about these books. So I may pull out a couple of them that are really cool or that I really like to show you, but for the most part, we're just going to kind of go through and see what I got. So up at the very top up here, which, you know what, I'm going to show you this because this is really cute. Believe it or not, this was a Christmas present because in my family we give Halloween decorations for Christmas presents. But yeah, so he is sitting up there with the Stephen King collection. I've got the two little gargoyle bookends. And then on this shelf, it's ours. I start with the fiction, and it starts with mysteries, goes kind of into thrillers, and then into horror. Up here, I have a penchant for these little things. You get them, I don't know if they have them in other places, other than maybe like coastal places, but you can go pretty much anywhere in Florida and find these little shell creatures, and they're adorable. Got a little half of the geode there, and this is really cool. We actually won this from the estate of Rue McClanahan, so that's actually a notepad and a little tray from her desk, which is really cool. And of course, Edward Gorey and the Ghastly Crumb Tinies, which I'm knocking over, and a little bobblehead guy from Nightmare Before Christmas. And then the second shelf is horror, going into sci-fi with random things stuck in here. My beloved recently purchased chicken. Yeah. Got Oogie Boogie because my wife absolutely loves Nightmare Before Christmas. So we have Oogie Boogie here. Sci-fi continues because if you have been here for more than 5 minutes, you know I really love sci-fi. So it's sci-fi going into fantasy. The little Darkwing Duck. A couple of little Star Trek figures, little evil Klingon there. And my octopus. He's sitting in front of Jules Verne. I love my octopus. The picture from when I got to meet Nikki Giovanni. Continuing, more fantasy, going into regular fiction, which is what the rest of the shelf is. And there's a little bit... No, I think this is all the fiction right now. It really needs to be redone. But we're just going to go through and I'll read you the titles and pull out a few here and there. Maybe just some fun ones. So up here I've got, all of these are by Stephen King. I've got 11/22/63, The Dark Half, Dr. Sleep, 4 Past Midnight. I hate this as a movie cover. I absolutely hate movie covers, but even if it does have Johnny Depp's eyes on it, I don't like it. So it's 4 Past Midnight featuring Secret Window because of the movie, but regardless, good collection. Full Dark, No Stars, my sad patched edition of it, which I showed in a previous video covered in packing tape. Joyland, which was the Hard Case Crime book that he did just after sunset. Misery, Mr. Mercedes, Needful Things, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, Revival, The Shining, and The Talisman. And I really need to get Black House to go with that because I need to reread those. And let me just move this so we can see. And then, as I said, all the Stephen Kings are up there. And then this starts the mystery. So I've got Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. 2 different editions of that. And then Old House of Fear by Russell Kirk. The Red House Mystery by A.A. Milne. And then this is a series, I don't know if I've mentioned this one before. It's by Ann George, who is from Birmingham, Alabama, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from my hometown. And these are all set in Birmingham, and I don't have the whole set, but it's Ann George, Murder on a Girl's Night Out, Murder on a Bad Hair Day, Murder Makes Waves, Murder Shoots the Bull, and Murder Boogies with Elvis. And those are really, really cute and really fun and easy, well, not easy reads, but quick reads is what I meant. So if you like mysteries and anything about Alabama, those are good. Then my Monk collection, and these are much to my chagrin, not exactly in order because these should be mixed in, but because of limited shelf space, I had to do this. I got to get the rest of these in paperback so I can fix this, right? So Mr. Monk Goes to the Firehouse, Mr. Monk Goes to Hawaii, Mr. Monk and the Two Assistants, Mr. Monk in Outer Space, Mr. Monk Goes to Germany, Mr. Monk and the Dirty Cop, Mr. Monk in Trouble, Mr. Monk is Cleaned Out, Mr. Monk on the Couch, Mr. Monk is a Mess, Mr. Monk Gets Even, Mr. Monk and the Blue Flu, Mr. Monk is Miserable, Mr. Monk on the Road, and Mr. Monk on Patrol. And like I said in a previous video, these are only the ones by Lee Goldberg, so all of those titles are by Lee Goldberg, because I do not like the new ones. Move this. Continuing a little bit with the mysteries, What's a Ghoul to Do? By Victoria Laurie. This is one of Anna's books. I have not read this one, so I cannot make any comment on it. An Event in Autumn by Henning Mankell, which she says was really good. Then several Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child books. This is part of the series that starts with Reliquary, and that's an awesome series, but Cemetery Dance, Fever Dream, and Two Graves. Then Christopher Rice, who is Anne Rice's son and writes awesome books, and this one is The Moonlit Earth. Then I've got several Poppy Bright books. This is Drawing Blood, Lost Souls, and Wormwood. All awesome. World War Z by Max Brooks, and The Last American Vampire by Seth Grahame-Smith, which is the sequel to Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Haven't seen the movie, but the book was awesome. So move down to the second shelf, and I'll just move this stuff back up here. And we're still in horror now. So this one, Horror Store, which I've talked about before, by, oh, what is his name? Sorry. Grady Hendrix. They don't have the entire name on the side of the book here. Joe Hill, who I've also talked about ad nauseum. 20th Century Ghosts, Heart-Shaped Box, Horns, and Nosferatu. And this book is really cool, actually. It's In the Shadow of the Gargoyle. It's a collection of stories by edited by Nancy Kilpatrick and Thomas Roche. I guess that's how you say it. Sorry, Thomas, if I'm saying it wrong. But it's just an entire bunch of stories about gargoyles coming to life. It includes stories by Neil Gaiman, Harlan Ellison, Caitlin Kiernan. You know what? I didn't even realize it was a Caitlin Kiernan story in here because it's been so long since I've read this. Now I need to reread it, guys. But it's good. I hunted this copy. As you can tell, it's used, but I hunted a copy of this because I lost it and had to buy it again. Okay. The Scarecrow, Solemn #1 by Scott Nicholson. Deck Z, The Titanic, which does not have the... Why would you not have the author's name completely uncovered on the title page, or on the cover, guys? Chris Pauls and Matt Solomon. That's insane. Okay. Queer Fear, edited by Michael Rowe. Shudder at Your Touch, 22 Tales of Sex and Horror, edited by Michelle Slung. One of the, I think this is the Barnes & Noble Classics editions of Dracula by Bram Stoker. Succulent Prey by Wrath James White, one of my wife's, but she says he is amazing. And we're considering a horror corner because she reads much different horror books than I do, so maybe she'll show up eventually to talk to you guys about horror that I don't read. So then we're now getting into the sci-fi. Well, yeah. So this is Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, and The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, all by Douglas Adams. And this is the entirety of all 5 books of the trilogy collected into one edition. Then the Mammoth Book of Time Travel Sci-Fi, edited by Mike Ashley. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, and this is a World Book Night edition. The Time Ships by Stephen Baxter. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Excuse me, Iggy. Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. And I don't think I talked nearly enough about Octavia Butler on this channel, but if you have not read Octavia Butler, you need her in your life. I'm just saying. Past Watch, The Redemption of Christopher Columbus by Orson Scott Card. The only book of his I will read because I do not like that man personally, but that's a really good book. Morlock Night by K.W. Jeter. The Mammoth Book of Sci-Fi Stories by Women, edited by Alex Daly McFarlane. Unlondon by China Mieville, and The Map of Time by Felix J. Pommel, which I have also talked about ad nauseum. This one I actually just got at the Dollar Tree. I was very excited. Nice hardback edition of The Impeachment of Abraham Lincoln, Its Alternate History by Stephen Carter. And then The House of Leaves by Mark, I can't read the last name, Danielewski. Another one I have not read, but I hear it's good, so I really need to pick this one up. I think that one is Anna's, and I'm not sure she ever finished that one. But It's supposed to be good. Okay, she's nodding at me that she did actually finish that book. And it must have been okay, or it would have left the house by now. Apparently it is interesting. We'll leave it at that. Again, hopefully she'll be doing a little corner soon and she can tell you all about it. Okay, so I'm going to sit on the floor for the bottom 2 shelves, but I can do this one standing up. So we're still in the sci-fi. Told you, lots of sci-fi. The Map of the Sky by Felix J. Palma. Then The Long Earth, The Long War, and The Long Mars by Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter. 20 Trillion Leagues Under the Sea, which is a retelling of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's by Adam Roberts. I love this cover. Look at the tentacles, guys. This is so pretty. I love it. Then I've got The Bookman Histories by Lavi Tadar. And this is a chunky book. Okay? This is actually, I think it's 3 novels in one. And it's put out by Angry Robot. And if you haven't seen Angry Robot Press, you need to go to their website. They have a lot of good books. They do a lot of steampunk, alternate history, sci-fi, that sort of thing. But this is all 3 of the Bookman Histories in one volume. And it's well over 1,000. It's 1,022 pages. And I flew through this. So it was really good. Then I've got The Time Traveler's Almanac, edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. Move the octopus out of the way. Then I've got Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Around the World in 80 Days, and A Journey to the Center of the Earth. Then Star Trek The Next Generation, Genesis Wave, Books 1 and 2 by John Bornholt. You have no idea how hard it is to find the 3rd book in this series, guys. I've been trying to find the 3rd book in this series for about 2 years. So anybody got a copy? I'll buy it from you. As long as you're not charging too much. Because it's really hard. The Invisible Man, The Island of Dr. Moreau, and this old edition of The Time Machine, which is kind of cool. I don't like the cover art on that one. I need to get, I was in Books A Million today, and I started to get the Signet edition of it, just so I'd have similar editions, but this is just the one I have right now, and it's, I think I paid like $1 for it, so that's probably why I had that one. Then I have Soulless by Gail Carriger, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark, Neil Gaiman's American Gods, and I know you guys probably can't see all these, but I'm going to pull these out so you can. This is the, what is it? The To Hell and Back series by Matthew Hughes, Hell to Pay, Costume Not Included, and The Damned Busters, and I did those in reverse order. This is another Angry Robot Press series. I loved this series. It was so good. Essentially, this guy makes a deal with the devil and becomes a superhero. So that's what the entirety of all 3 books is him dealing with his deal with the devil. But it's a really good series. Then I have the novelization of The Librarian Quest for the Spear movie, which it's about a librarian. Of course, I'm going to have it. Wonder Woman Mythos by Carol Leigh. Xena, Warrior Princess, Prophecy of Darkness by Stella Howard. Xena, Warrior Princess, The Huntress of the Sphinx by Rue Emerson. And Xena, Go Quest Young Man by Rue Emerson. Then I'm going to pull these out, because I talked about these, I think, in an earlier video. This is the Heroes in Hell series, edited by Janet Morris and C.J. Shera and I think somebody else at some point. I only have 4 of them. There's about 10 or 15. They're, of course, very 70s sort of editions, you know, the artwork, and it's all short stories about heroes in hell, dead famous people running amok in hell. So, if that interests you, these are amazing. Hard to find, though, let me warn you. So, if you see one, snatch it up. Normally, I would not buy a used book that was in this kind of condition, but because they're so hard to find, I snatched it up anyway. Then also over here, I've got Neil Gaiman's Anansi Boys, Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. And then the rest of these are all by Terry Pratchett. Hogfather, The Light Fantastic, Monstrous Regiment, Mort, Small Gods, Thief of Time, Wintersmith, and Witches Abroad, which are all part of the Discworld series. And now I gotta sit on the floor or you're not gonna be able to see anything. So this whole sitting down is going to be edited out, but just so you know. On this shelf, this is my little handmade fire spider, which I've shown in another video. And she sits down here by my lovely Jim C. Hines Editions. But first, there is a book, which I'm going to be talking about in another video. This is The God of Lost Dreams by Will Griffith. It's a self-published book that I won from a Goodreads giveaway, and I'll be talking about this in an indie press / self-published video at some point. Awesome book. But then I have Libriomancer, Codex Born, and Unbound by Jim C. Hines, and Gill's All Fright Diner and Monster by Ailey Martinez. World Soul by Liz Williams. This series is supposed to be complete by now. Okay, pause for a moment. You may or may not hear a tiny... that noise. Everybody, this is Sir Merriweather, Peeg of the Shire, whom we colloquially refer to as Peeg. He is apparently upset that I have not included him in the video, and is giving you his thoughts on the matter. So, there you go. Continuing on. World Soul by Liz Williams, which has to do with the fantasy world, and there's an archive and librarians, so of course I am fabulously interested in this. But she has yet to bring out the rest of the series, so I am awaiting that. Then we have The Hobbit, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and The Return of the King, all by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I've shown this in a previous video, but my fabulous book copy of The Hobbit, which I traded my brother for, because I desperately needed this one. Because Gollum is super creeper in this video, in this cover. Yes? Super creeper, right? Then I have the first 4 books of A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, Storm of Swords, Feast for Crows. I've read Dance with Dragons. I just don't have a copy of it. I think we have a Kindle copy, but as we have heard in previous videos, I have strong feelings about ebooks. So, then I have a World Book Night version of The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie, and then also The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven by Sherman Alexie. Jaws by Peter Benchley. One of Ours by Willa Cather. Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. I still don't know how to say his last name, so if you happen to see this, Michael, I humbly apologize. Also by Michael Chabon, whose name I cannot pronounce. The Yiddish Policeman's Union, which is alternate history, and I have not gotten to read it yet, but it is supposed to be good. Crazy in Alabama by Mark Childress. George Bottoms by Mark Childress. I can't talk today, guys. By Mark Childress. An illustrated Dante's Inferno. Another edition of Dante's Inferno with the Italian alongside it. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. The Last Report on the Miracles at Little No Horse by Louise... I'm combining titles at this point. By Louise Erdrich. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg. Down here on the bottom, I'm not sure how well you can see them. I'm sure you can see them better than I imagine. I've got The Well of Loneliness by Radcliffe Hall, which is a classic lesbian novel written in England in the late 1800s, beginning of 1900s. Huge lawsuit and things like that around it. Amazing. So you should read it if you're interested in that kind of thing at all. Invisible Life by Elin Harris, which I, again, will talk... I'm going to have a whole Pride video in June, so we'll talk about it then. Another World Book Night edition, Joseph Heller's Catch-22. A fancy schmancy edition that my mom gave to me of D.H. Lawrence's Women in Love. I have not read this. No, my mom didn't give me this. I got this for free. Another World Book Night edition, Joseph Heller's Catch-22. A fancy schmancy edition that my mom gave to me of D.H. Lawrence's Women in Love. I have not read this. No, my mom didn't give me this. I got this for free from somewhere, and I'll be quite honest, I don't really care for D.H. Lawrence, so I kind of brought it home because I felt like I wouldn't feel bad if I destroyed it making some kind of purse or something, but then the guilt got me, and it's sitting on the shelf because I couldn't bear to tear up a book. So, there's that. Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. A short story collection that I haven't read yet called Men in the Making by Bruce Matchert. Another fancy schmancy edition I got for free, Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Fool by Christopher Moore. Toni Morrison's Beloved. And this is another movie edition, and I don't like it. I can't remember the editions, or which editions there are, but there's an edition of all her work where it's just the title written in cursive across it, and they're all different colors. That's the edition I want, because I just don't like that edition at all. Then I have After Dark by Haruki Murakami, The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami, Metamorphosis by Ovid. This woman, I think I talked about this in the haul video. This woman's books have the best titles ever. There once lived a woman who tried to kill her neighbor's baby. Scary fairy tales selected and translated by Keith Gesson and Anna Summers. And these are written by Ludmila Petrushkevskaya. She's Russian, and I hope I did not murder that last name. But all of her short story collections have titles like this, and pretty amazing covers as well. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. Then I have The Mathematician's Shiva by Stuart Rossacker. Another name that I cannot pronounce, guys, and I'm terribly sorry if I'm butchering it. Landline by Rainbow Rowell. Our Lady of the Lost and Found by Diane Chamberlain. This is a book that I would not have thought I would have liked this much. This is a contemporary adult book, and I read it, God, I think I read this whenever it came out, but I've had it, continuously had a copy of this for about 10 or 11 years, and this woman comes home, and the Virgin Mary has decided to use her home as a vacation spot. She needs a rest from the world, so she comes and stays with this woman in Canada, and that's what the book is about. And I'm not, I've said this before, I'm not Christian, I'm not a religious person, but it's a really cool story, and it's really interesting. And it's the subtitle is A Novel of Mary, Faith, and Friendship, and it's a really interesting idea of what these religious figures, if they do exist, what kind of lives they have and what they do in their spare time, and it's just a really cool book. So there you go. The next thing I've got is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, which I have said before I absolutely loved. Then I've got Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, and I actually really liked this edition. I don't really know why. I just think it's really cool. You know, a lot of them have the semi-movie covers with this random image of a Dust Bowl farmer guy on the front, black and white, which are cool. But I don't know. I really like this edition. It's really simple. It's got their truck, and plus it's got the cool paperback. It's Penguin's Great Books of the 20th Century editions. And it's got the decal edge. As you can see, this is one from class. It's got all my Post-its in it. But a lot of Post-its, actually. I think I had to teach a class on this. But it's a really good, solid edition. Penguin always does good work. This one is another one I talked about in haul, but it's The Death of Vishnu by Manal Suri, which has just a beautiful cover as well. Then I've got my Amy Tans, most of my Amy Tans, The Bonesetter's Daughter, The 100 Secret Senses, The Kitchen God's Wife, Saving Fish from Drowning, The Valley of Amazement. Oh, I thought I had more. No, that's it. Okay, then I have Kurt Vonnegut's Bagombo Snuff Box, Triangle by Catherine Weber, 2 different editions of The Picture of Dorian Gray, and we have discussed this in a previous video. That one edition is just too hideous to live, and that is why I have the other edition. And then The Golem and the Jinni, whose author I have forgotten, I'm terribly sorry, by Helene Wecker. It's supposed to be really good, and this is another really pretty cover. It's one of these, this one is actually Harper Perennial, but it's that same solid paperback with these and the decal edge, and it's just really pretty. And then, of course, my Porcupine Butt edition of Dear Committee Members by Julie Schumacher, which I went on ad nauseum about in a review video, which I will link below if you happen to be interested. So, guys, that is pretty much it for this particular shelf. As you can see, there were a lot of books on this shelf, and there are just as many on the other shelf, which is the same size as this one. And then I have a movie shelf that is mostly my children's and young adult section at this point, and then there's the one that has all of the graphic novels and comics in it. So that's too much for one video, and we're going to do that another day. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if anybody has a preference as to which one I do next, let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to suggestions, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video.